Hi, today we're going to talk about how to quickly set up your Azure Active Directory provider to be integrated with Globus. The first step is to complete the Alternative Identity Provider form, which should have been provided to you by email. All we'll need is a little information about your Active Directory instance, which we'll collect in a minute. To start though, provide us with your organization name, the administrator's name that's going to manage this instance, an email address to be able to contact them, and potentially a phone number so that we can get hold of them if there are any issues with logging in via this identity provider. Next, we need to collect some information about the OIDC server itself, such as the domains that are asserted, as well as the OIDC well-known document. This information can be easily found under the app registration for your Azure Active Directory. In this case, our app is called Example Organization. But in some instances, you haven't registered the application yet. To do this, just go to App Registrations, click New Registration, provide it with a name, and then for the moment, we're just going to fill in a placeholder callback. So you can enter pretty much anything over here. Later on in this process, we'll quickly put in the correct callbacks which are used for Globus. Good enough. Let's move on. And now that your app has been registered, we then collect the information that we need to complete this document. For the domains, provide the domain information related to this Active Directory server, the domains effectively that are asserted by it. In this case, I'm just going to put the publisher domain. In more complex cases, you would have one or many domains that you would assert, such as example.edu or example.org, or subdomains of or user.example.org. For the well-known document, we can get this information from the Endpoints tab of our Active Directory server. Going up to Overview, we click on Endpoints to the right, and the fifth item from the top is the metadata document, which is what we need for the well-known. Providing this information here means that a lot of the fields below aren't required, and these will then be hidden. Next, we need to examine whether our usernames are immutable and will not be reused. If you assert that they are immutable and won't be reused, it simplifies a lot of the configuration. In this case, just select the top radio button. If you have a complicated situation in which you may reuse a username, select the second one and then provide a claim that identifies a unique immutable identifier for every user or identity. At least for this configuration, I know that my usernames are immutable, so I will just specify the default. Then for the last three fields, if you would like to use a different claim than the default of name and email for the display name and for the email, you can specify them here. Lastly, we can also use a different claim for the organization, or we can just use the default which you provided above. Once done and all filled in, hit the Submit button, and then we will begin integrating your identity provider. While we're configuring your identity provider, we'll need a client ID and secret from you to allow Globus Auth to communicate securely with your identity provider. This client ID and secret can be found on the Azure Active Directory page. The client ID can be copied from the overview. The secret can be created under Certificates and Secrets, where you can then add a new secret and copy it into a text document. There are a few ways to send us this file securely, either by encrypted email, by encrypted file using one of our GPG keys, which we can send you, or just over the phone if you prefer that option. Once we have this, as well as the accompanying document you just sent, we'll set up your identity provider in our preview environment so you can try it out end to end before we move it over to production. Lastly, you'll need to configure your Azure Active Directory to allow redirects back to Auth once the user has logged in. We'll provide you the list of redirects via email, which then just need to be pasted inside the Authentication tab under Redirect URIs. Once these are all in, just hit the Save button and then everything should be configured for end-to-end testing. This concludes the quick start for getting your Azure Active Directory integrated with Globus Auth, but if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to reach out to our support team at support@globus.org. Thank you.